Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to the first War Thunder subscriber replay spotlight on the channel. Today's replay was sent in by, and I really hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, and apologies if I'm not, IrvineJT93, and he's in his Focke-Wulf 190D13 in a simulator battle, flying on the map Stalingrad, and he's fighting the Russians. Now, as you can see, he's climbed to quite a comfortable altitude of nearly 3,900 meters. And this is really where you want to be on a 190. You want to be up high so you have lots of room to abuse the excellent dive speed of the aircraft. So you can have a lot of room to build up energy, which you can convert back into altitude if need be. It's a very safe playstyle, and one that's really necessary to make the aircraft perform well. It's definitely not a turn and burner. Now the first victim is a Yak-9 UT, which Irvine slots in behind. Fires a few shots at long range, but quickly closes the distance thanks to his aircraft's excellent dive speed. Get some good hits into the Yak, although I don't know if it really shows up too well in the replay. The Yak does end up going down. Now, instead of following the damaged enemy fighter down to secure the kill, he decides to keep his altitude, which ends up being a very smart decision as another Yak-9 UT attacks from co-alt. Comes streaking in, firing its 37mm cannon at Irvine, and then they both break into each other, although the Yak is by far the more maneuverable of the two aircraft and slots in behind Irvine, who puts his aircraft into a tight vertical spiral, which the Yak just can't follow thanks to its inferior dive characteristics and roll rate. Now, since the Yak-11 fighter is broken off, Irvine can now safely climb away and turn back to attack while the Yak is being distracted by a teammate. Now, it actually appears that the enemy Yak-11 has lost sight of Irvine while being attacked by the teammate, because he doesn't seem to really do anything defensive until Irvine has lined up with him and is about to pull the trigger. Irvine hits the enemy in the tail, and thinking he was going to go down, decides to leave him for dead. Unfortunately though, the Yak-11 is far from dead, and is actually taken out by a teammate while it attempts to return to base and repair. In this next engagement, Irvine slots in on the tail of yet another Yak-9 UT, and stays in its blind spot for quite some time as he sneaks up on it. Puts in some very well-aimed fire from a decent range, and scores some good hits on the enemy's wing and fuselage. The Yak tries to dive away and evade Irvine's fire, but not evading that one. That's kill number 2 for Irvine. In this final engagement, you'll see what happens when Irvine is put into quite a dicey situation. And you'll see him do exactly the right thing to remedy it, and even turn it around in his favor. But first, Irvine spots what appears to be an enemy aircraft in a shallow dive, and banks around in a climbing left-hand turn to engage it. The enemy is actually a LA-9, a post-war Russian fighter, and surprisingly similar to the Focke-Wulf 190. It's a fast aircraft, with a devastating nose-mounted armament and a decent roll rate, but not the most nimble of fighters, at least not by Russian standards. The enemy puts his aircraft into a hard left descending turn, which Irvine decides not to follow, instead keeps his altitude. Well, for the most part anyways. The LA9 decides to do a very questionable maneuver and ends up going head to head with a 190. Just not something you really want to do. Ever. Oh, you hear that? There's another LA9 slotting in right behind Irvine, who, in the nick of time, chops the throttle and rolls out of the way of the LA9. Now, you did hear a hit sound from the LA9, but I'm guessing that was just a replay bug. Sometimes the replays play hit sounds that don't actually happen in game. And Irvine sends the second Lavochkin fighter down in flames. So there you have it. A 4-kill round in the Focke-Wulf 190 D13 against some very potent Russian fighters, especially the LA9s. Even in the face of danger, with an enemy sitting on his tail, not once but twice during the match, IrvineJT93 kept his cool and his head, and reversed the situation, turning the tables on his enemy and gaining a favorable position for himself. Thank you so much for sending in this replay. It was an absolute beauty to watch. If you have a replay of your own that you'd like spotlighted or maybe critiqued in some way, feel free to send it to my replay email. The link will be in the description. Anyways guys, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and maybe I'll catch you next time. And until then, happy hunting.